The following episode will contain spoilers. You have been warned.
You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? What's behind door number 1? Death. How about door number 2? More death. Those crappy options and more are what Amber and Scott discuss after watching Heretic. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
Now, there is an either haunted house or escape room I want to do.
Oh, I don't want to at all.
It would be a really fun one.
I don't know about that. So this episode, folks, we are talking about Heretic. 2 young missionaries become ensnared in a deadly game of cat and mouse after they knock on the wrong front door. Boy, do they knock on the wrong front door.
Yeah, I fucking loved this movie. I was riveted the entire time. It had me hook, line, and freaking sinker.
Oh, well, that's good. I mean, that you don't say that about all the films,
No.
so that actually means something.
Yeah, no. Hugh Grant was very good.
He was, indeed. So he played Mr. Reed, who was on the gals list to come and visit to talk about becoming Mormon. And these 2 gals have a list. They go out day to day and they visit people in their homes and talk to them about the church. And they knock on Mr. Reed's door, and Mr. Reed is happy and cordial and social. And then they say, well, we can't come in unless you have a female in the house. He goes, oh, yeah, my wife's in the kitchen making some pie. Come on in. So they come on in. And long story short, there is no Mrs. Reed. There is no blueberry pie, or else there kind of is later, but we'll get there.
But spoiler alert, there's plenty of women in the house.
Yeah, and they quickly realize that there's something wrong, and they try to leave, and they can't get out. And that is where we spend the rest of the movie, is with these gals really doing the whole cat and mouse thing with Mr. Reed, who is talking about religion, how every religion is an iteration of something else, and challenging them in their beliefs about religion, and them just realizing they are stuck and trying desperately to get out of this house.
Yeah, there's so much theological stuff there. Like, I felt like it was a deep movie. There was, a lot of good. Like, I'm a game geek, and they actually, as best as I picked up, nailed all of the nuances behind Monopoly and its history.
Yeah, and that was when Mr. Reed was talking about how everything is an iteration of something else. So he started with music, and how The Air That I Breathe was then copied by Radiohead to do Creep, and then it was copied by
Lana Del Rey.
Yeah, and the same thing with the Monopoly game, and how we don't remember things, we remember our last memory of remembering things. And
I was amused how New Monopoly was Islam, because that was just, man, that was, New Monopoly went over about as well as New Coke.
Yeah, and that's how he was comparing things, is religion equals this version of Monopoly, and he had Mormonism be the Bob Ross version of Monopoly.
I laughed really hard at that.
So it was definitely a compelling film, definitely kept your interest the entire time, and not something that I think anybody could predict what was going to happen next, because it was really a very unique premise, and there really was no way to even guess what was going to happen next, because it was just so unusual.
Yeah, like I said, there were few things in the movie that I felt I could reasonably predict, though I was able to discern some things. Like, I knew as soon as they went for a cell phone that this was going to be a point of him calling bullshit, because all the walls.
He blocked the ability for anyone to make a phone call from the house.
Yeah, which there's metal and everything, which he told him straight up. before it happened.
And they didn't understand what that meant until they actually started feeling in danger and realized they couldn't use their phones.
I wasn't exactly sure how, but I knew as soon as they pulled that board down that someone's eyes was coming at the hands of that board.
I don't know what you're talking about.
When they were reaching up and they pulled a board out and there had 3 nails in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like
when they were trying to get out and there was a board with 3 nails sticking out.
That was definitely going to lead to someone's demise. But like as far as general premise and everything, no, they had me. It
was really good. So let's dig into what we do here and what would we do if we were in any of the characters' shoes. So if I was a young missionary sent out with another female to go and talk to people about the church, it really, I understand the premise of you need another woman in the house, but you got to see evidence of the other woman.
Yep. If you don't see it, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, because he kept them on the hook for a while saying, oh, she's in the kitchen or she's shy or she's baking or whatnot. And obviously she wasn't there. And had they not stepped into that house, there would not be a movie.
Yeah, well, obviously. And I don't know exactly what the rules are on that. I know if it's me, I would say no, the rules is that we can only come in if invited by another woman. She has to be the one who actually extends the invitation to us personally.
Yeah, let's talk to the Mormon Church about that and figure out how that works. Because I agree. Because how else are you going to actually verify that? And I know the reason that they do that is not necessarily because they don't want to go into a house where someone could be a crazy person who would kill them. You know, it's more with etiquette and, you know, appearances and whatnot.
I mean, I'm sure it's a little safety related as well.
I don't know any practicing Mormons to talk to them about this film. Obviously, I'm sure they're going to view it much differently than others. But
I actually do know at least 1 or 2. I might ask them.
It does make you wonder, though, about sisters who do go out to do this work and how safe it really is, especially in today's world.
Well, so here's the other thing, too. We do live in 2024, and I've got to think that they use some technology, some smart technology on this. And one of those is the iPhone is highly trackable. So if they've just got location sharing on with whomever, which they should for the purposes of like while we're out, someone knows where we are, even with there being no cell service in the house, the Find My would still show the last location that it saw service, which would have been right at the front door.
Regardless of what religion anyone is advocating for, I certainly would want anyone who was following their path in life to always be safe, as long as, you know, there was nothing reckless or dangerous about, you know, what they were preaching. But it does make me concerned for any woman or a duo of women who do go door to door knocking on strangers' homes. And if I was any one of those characters, I can't see myself doing anything differently in the fact that initially you don't know what you're dealing with. So you don't want to push any buttons or make anyone angry. So when they first became concerned, they were very nice about it and saying, you know, it was great talking to you. We have to get going. You know, can you help us with the door? It appears to be stuck. And after a while, realizing that the whole niceness thing wasn't going to work, one of the sisters, Sister Barnes, then realized that her thought was that they needed to challenge him and not just agree with him all the time. And I can very much see myself following the same path of put in a situation like that where you're trying to not push someone's buttons because you don't know what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And evolving with every minute and tactic based on what's being laid down. And the thing is he's a really likable bad guy.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like, even all the way through, like, I don't even feel like there was a point in the movie where he appeared to be unlikable. Like, even if he's literally killing people, he still seemed likable. Like, it was kind of weird. He has that Hugh Grant face of, yeah. I mean, you can't see it because it's an audio podcast here, but he's got that.
It's funny because given when this film came out and the topic of this film is not ever going to be anything that likely gets nominated for anything as an Academy Award. But I agree with you. Hugh Grant was really good in this.
Oh, I actually think it might. I think I mean, especially in the world where we are now, where they extend a lot of the nominations, like there's 10 for Best Picture. I could see this getting a nomination. It wouldn't win, but I could actually see this getting nominated for a Best Picture, and I could definitely see Hugh Grant being nominated for an Academy Award. Again, I don't think he'd win, but I could see that performance getting nominated.
I truly hope if there's any gaps in how the Mormon Church uses their missionaries, uses the folks who go out into the field, if there are any gaps in that process, I really hope someone associated with the church sees this film for the primary reason of just addressing any of those safety gaps that might possibly exist. And as you were talking about iPhone tracking and whatnot. And the sad part is you thought when an elder from the church realized they hadn't come back and went looking for them and the places they were supposed to visit, and Mr. Reed, Hugh Grant's character, had actually taken their bikes, which were tied up at the front gate, locked up at the front gate, and moved them. So there was no evidence that they had been there. So when the elder knocked on the door and Mr. Reed said, "No, haven't seen him, haven't been here," there really was no way to prove otherwise.
Yeah, and I mean, you always have to remember that when you're doing movies like this, you can't do everything perfectly. Like, you have to have things that are going to leave holes, or else it's not going to develop into a good movie. Like, you need that tracking to not be on and there to be
of course.
no way.
And I think that's obviously the case with most of his review. If they did what we said, the movie would be 5 minutes. And so you need people to make bad decisions and for there to be messed up things, for there actually to be 2 hours of entertainment.
But that's why we have a podcast.
That's true.
So
That's true. So this movie ended not well for our young missionaries, nor for Mr. Reed.
I mean, it was slightly ambiguous at the end.
They made you believe that Sister Paxton died.
Yeah, like
it wasn't really clear, but they kind of...
She did get fairly stabbed.
Yeah, there were lots of bloodshed there at the end.
I mean...
And the women that you alluded to with lots of women in the house, it turns out they were caged women, and I can only imagine probably previous missionaries or visitors that had gone through the cat and mouse game with Mr. Reed that he left in basically dog cages and brought them out when he needed to illustrate a point to fresh blood that had knocked on his door.
Yeah.
Movies like this make me scared of people in a way that, like, I'm not sitting here shaking in my shoes scared, but you don't know who people really are. And this is something I'm very in touch with and I've been very aware of. It's not something that it's something I've always thought about, is you don't know people. You know what they want you to know about them.
Well, I'll say this. If there's any better example of that, we got it on Tuesday, which obviously this is going to come out later, so I should be specific when I say Tuesday, November 5th, when we thought we knew people. We thought we knew American public. We thought there's no way they're going to put them back in, but they did. So, like, it really is a point. Like, you don't know what things people are hiding, and
that's
everybody's hiding something.
And that's one of the reasons that I dislike social media so much, is because everyone's putting out the best possible version. Is here's our vacation, and here's our new car, and here I am in my beautiful home, and all this stuff, and you know what they're presenting. And not to say they don't have those things, but, they also might have an anorexic daughter who is teetering on the brink of death because she's so unwell, or their husband might be cheating on them.
I mean, so funny enough, it's not necessarily that they show you the best, because sometimes they show you the worst, and that just kind of depends on who the person is. Some people want,
and a lot of people do that for sympathy.
they want the sympathy. Yeah, they want the engagement, the sympathy. So, or they just show you whatever they're having for dinner.
I've longed for those days. I remember getting annoyed when everyone would take a picture of what they were eating, and that's what tweets were back in the day. I would love for Twitter to be a place where people just showed their food again, instead of the absolute just destructive cesspool that it has become.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people even within my communities who are starting to get off of X, and I'm about to join them, I think. So because I mean toxicity, but I think we're getting a little off topic.
Yes, indeed. So when out in the world, folks, don't go into people's homes unless you really know who they are. Go into friends' homes. Don't like this. This even applies to dating my gal pals. Just don't be trusting until someone has really proven that they're trustworthy.
Yeah, and it's definitely hard to do sometimes. And let me tell you, as a guy, I struggle with this because, I mean, you know me. You're married to me.
For the moment.
At least for now. But I think you know that for the most part, I try to do the right thing, and I try to be the right person, and I am about the biggest man hater you're ever going to meet because men are awful. But, like, I understand that when women are very cautious and have a lot of trepidation around being around guys, because everyone can seem like me until they are not.
And my final thought is always trust your gut. In the case of this movie, the two gals came in and they were having a fine time and a great conversation until they weren't. And then they just felt like something was off and that they needed to get out of there. So always trust your gut. If you're wrong and you offend someone, it happens. But do not ever let that be your guide. Trust your gut. If someone gets on the elevator after you and it makes you uncomfortable for whatever reason, get off the elevator. If you're going up a stairwell and someone makes you uncomfortable, like get off immediately at the floor that's not even your floor. Just always trust your gut.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting because I do that sometimes. I'll get in elevators where there's a woman or they're going in ahead of me, and I am very conscious to attempt to move to the opposite corner, like as far away from them as possible, so I can convey, hey, not a threat.
That's really great. And if you do that, I really hope that you're standing in front of the person and not behind them.
Well, it depends. If they are up like where the buttons are at the front, I'm at the back. If they go to the back, I stand near the front. I mean,
that's
again,
because I don't like anyone behind me, so that's where I kind of go with
that. But because of that, you would go to the back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would go to the front,
or I would just turn sideways.
Yeah, and that's fine too. Like whatever. I'm putting as much distance as I can because, again, I don't know what it's like to be a woman, but I've heard enough women tell me what it's like to be a woman, enough so that I try to be respectful. My final thoughts is you should probably just play Monopoly rather than deal with religion. I mean, they're both brutal, but at least Monopoly, is a game, and games are fun.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.